Hey everyone, how you doing? My name's Daniel, and this is my first YouTube movie review, and in this case, I'll be doing the Star Wars sequels. Um, the sequels have received both criticism and praise, and it has divided the fan base due to the way it was conducted and the reception of fans towards these movies. Now, I personally didn't particularly like the sequels. I like the prequels, but anyway, I mainly say this because they were not very, I guess, cohesively or well written, at least from my point of view. And there were several points I'm going to come off by in order to explain what I mean. First off, episode 7 resembled episode 4. When I was going to watch episode 7 in the cinema, I was expecting it to resonate with me. However, I turned out to be underwhelmed. And why is that? Well, mainly because it just felt too much like episode 4. Like, just the way it was written felt like episode 4. Now, don't get me wrong, I like it when shows or movies, have a lot of nostalgia and callbacks to, originals. But I just thought the plot writing, like you heard it many times, it's cliche among many fans, but we say that it just didn't feel like an original episode in itself. And I'm not just copying them. This is honestly my opinion and how I felt when I left that cinema back in 2015. Um, I do personally understand the difficulties of writing a plot because I myself, as a writer by hobby, find it difficult to come up with original plots, especially for, when you're creating a fanfic story on, a franchise like Star Wars or Star Trek. It's just hard to come up with your own original stuff. Like, I'm just being honest, like, I'm the sort of person who finds it difficult. But even then, I would have if I was maybe Kathleen Kennedy, I would have either hired another director with more originality, or if I was J.J. Abrams, I would have hired, different writers who, were more creative but were able to understand Star Wars well and write in originality. You're always going to have fans who are going to disagree with whatever we're given, which is fine. But all I'm saying is that the sequels had more disagreement than any other Star Wars material, as far as I'm aware. Um, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is the fact, but I think it's possible that the reason why J.J. Abrams was um, the reason why he stuck to nostalgia a lot in episode 7 and to some degree episode 9 was because a few years before that he was rebooting the Star Trek series. And I personally enjoyed that series. I loved it for what it was. It'll always resonate with me. But a lot of fans of Star Trek criticized those reboots as well because it did away with the original meaning of Star Trek. It felt too much like Star Wars, and it didn't. Then again, it didn't feel like Star Trek. And it's possible JJ was learning from that mistake by trying to make the Star Wars sequels feel like Star Wars by almost mirroring the plot of Episode 4. So I can see that maybe what he was doing, but then again, it's okay to be original. It's okay to come up with your own ideas in Star Wars, because this is a sequel. This is not a reboot. And in all honesty, I think the Star Trek reboots were written better than the sequels because they had their own storyline, they had their own plot in them. And I must say, in my opinion, Into Darkness was a well written movie. I won't go into how he changed Khan's character and all the rest of that stuff because that's something else. But yeah, that's what I have to say about it. Number two, Episode 8 wasn't consistent with Luke Skywalker's character. Now, honestly, I admire Ryan Johnson as a director and a writer in general. I've watched Knives Out in the cinema last year when I think, yeah, it was around the time Rise of Skywalker came out, and I must say, Ryan Johnson did a great job in writing something that was original. It was just well written and just thought out. It made sense. Um, but it's probably, it's true that he probably didn't understand Star Wars well enough in order to write something that would just not divide the fan base as much. I mean, this is just what I think, but I think he probably didn't understand Star Wars as well as he did with his own original works. He probably even wanted to make a dark twist to the sequel trilogy, and theoretically that's fine, but then again, I think it didn't work out well in the end, as we saw. Um, Luke was knee jerking in episode 8 like he did in the originals. Now, the reason why I don't believe this is good now is because when Luke was in the originals, he was young and impulsive, around my age even. I'm 23, or he was, depending which episode, he was probably even a little bit younger. But my point here is that it's normal for someone under 29 to knee jerk generally, but it just doesn't seem very Lukish to knee jerk and almost kill Kylo Ren at an instinct in by the age of 50 or 60 or whatever he was by the time of Force Awakens, or just before then, whenever before Kylo Ren left to join Snoke. Um, what I'm saying is that, Luke wouldn't necessarily knee jerk as easily. It didn't seem like a compelling story or backstory to Kylo Ren. Um, it made some sense, but it just didn't seem as complicated as, possibly even Anakin's downfall or just, some other villain. Um, and the other thing is that Luke turns Vader back to the light in the original trilogy. He was known to that. He was known for being persistent in that, yet he seems to have some sort of different character in the sequels. What I think may have been better was I haven't really thought out an actual storyline, but roughly speaking, I could say that Luke could have at least counseled Ben, probably even the way Yoda or Obi-Wan counseled Anakin in the prequels. And perhaps it could have been more of a lack of trust between Luke and Ben and the Jedi. Between Ben and the Jedi, including Luke, that could have turned him away. It built up lack of trust or, hypocrisy within the new Jedi Order that would have caused Ben to become rogue. And I even came up with the idea if he becomes attached to this fellow female Jedi in the Jedi Order, they run away with each other, they become vigilantes, and then eventually I came up with the rough idea that she may be killed, and then that causes such hatred and vengeance within Ben, and then he comes across Snoke, and then he decides to turn to the dark side. Then that's just an idea, like I'm just saying. The other thing, just one more thing I'll add, by the way, is that I personally prefer the new Jedi Order in Legends than canon. I mean, it's just a preference. I'm not saying this is the way it should have been, although I would have liked it to have been. But I liked it how the Jedi Order was flourishing, and Luke was just leading a whole new generation of Jedi. I just like that better than the way the Jedi Order was in the sequels, which is not necessarily bad because stuff happens and Luke goes into hiding. Yoda's done that even though that was on a galactic scale. But I'm just saying, like, I personally just want to share that I prefer the Jedi Order and Legends over canon as a by the way thing. Number three, plot holes and unanswered questions in Last Jedi specifically. Now, personally, I wasn't too bothered with the uneventful revelation of Rey's parents. I say this because, in all honesty, when I was watching that movie at the time, it raised a lot of questions, theories, like why didn't Ray find out about her parents when she could have, on was it Akto? I mean, if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway, that planet. But what I was going to say was that it didn't seem to bother me because what if I came up with my own theory? What if Luke was clouding her vision because she doesn't want doesn't want her to find out about her parents? Like, what if one of her parents were evil and we find out this is in some way true that Palpatine was a grandparent? So, spoiler. Forget what I said. Unless you've seen the movie, of course. Anyway, what I was going to say was that it left room for suspense whether Ryan Johnson was not coming up with a plan or whether he did want to create suspense. It didn't matter too much to me. And I also came up, what if Ray, was created out of midichlorians and she didn't have parents, sort of like Anakin but without parents. That was just a theory, but then again, at least we found out who her parents were in Rise of Skywalker. So then again, it didn't seem to matter too much in the end. I also thought the Broom Boy, at the end of The Last Jedi, he had potential to rebuild the Jedi Order with Rey, the fallen new Jedi Order. And I know it wasn't even Ryan Johnson's idea to rebuild the Order, as we know, Last Jedi being the title. Um, I still think that would have been a good idea because without the Jedi, it's not even Star Wars, even with Dark Jedi. So I think that would have been an awesome plot to gradually rebuild the Order in Episode 9, and then just imply that Rey's going to rebuild it at the end. Now, that's what I would have preferred. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe even let me know in the comments if you want to. But yeah, now as I said, that's why I dislike the title Last Jedi because it's implying that the Jedi were to end. Number 4, Admiral Holdo was a feminist character. Now, as a writer, I see nothing wrong with females with power. I mean, in power. Now, I say this because, you know, it's important to empower women through subliminal messages, by putting women in power. I respect all those fans who don't like this concept, especially in Star Wars. Each to their own. I just don't see anything wrong with it because you need diversity in a cast and even gender diversity. And I think Holdo as a concept wasn't a bad character, but then again, as a character herself, I'm not talking about Laura Dern or acting. I'm talking about the character Holdo. She was an incompetent admiral, who appeared, suspicious. People were suspicious of her at first, and I can see once again Johnson was building up, some sort of plot twist that in the eyes of fans went wrong, or at least it was received wrong. And I just thought it would have been better if she was, if she shines more as a character. So that could have made things a little bit better, no matter how much or little Last Jedi would have been criticized. Number 5, Palpatine is back. Now, also with this one, I don't see a problem with that because in Legends, I don't remember if it was a comic or something, but in Star Wars Legends, the pre-canon material, that pre-2014 or whenever it was, basically old Star Wars material, be it comics, games, books, or whatever. Palpatine returned as a clone. It's pretty similar to the way he turned out in Rise of Skywalker. A lot of people didn't like him returning for multiple reasons because they're thinking, oh, he's dead. How can he still be alive? And that's fair enough, but you know, it happened in Legends. I don't know if people had a problem with that at the time, but I just think it was a good idea. It was fun seeing him again because he's your classic Star Wars villain as well. Um, a lot of people, including myself, don't like Rey fulfilling the Chosen One prophecy, or at least, you know, doing away with it, if you will. Um, but then again, Palpatine was killed by someone other than Anakin or even his ghost in Legends. So, then again, it boils down to the fact that it parallels with the Legends material. And you know so I'm just saying it's nothing necessarily new. That's what I'm saying. And although I do have a problem with Ray fulfilling the chosen one prophecy, not Anakin, because it does away with him bringing balance to the Force. But then again, it's open to interpretation. I'll leave it to you guys to figure that out, whether she did bring balance to the Force or whether Anakin, you know still did, despite of Ray killing Palpatine in that last movie. um, I also agree with many fans that the Jedi Ghost should have been given more screen time. In fact, any screen time at all. Like I'm talking about the prequel Jedi, even Obi-Wan Kenobi, like the one Alec Guinness Kenobi, which he obviously was by then. They should have all shown up and then defeated Palpatine together, even with a bunch of Sith or Palpatine side that we don't even know. Like I know that was sort of part of the draft, but they got you know taken out anyway or something. But look, I mean, I at least would have loved to see all the Jedi. That would have been great, excellent fan service. I do appreciate the thought, you know, Kathleen Kennedy and JJ put into it by at least allowing the voices of the Jedi to show their presence in Rey. That was all right, but I just thought it would be better if they all showed up in person. That would have been so awesome, especially seeing Anakin's ghost once more. Um, I also agree with some people that Anakin should have appeared as a ghost to Kylo to redeem him instead of Han. Although Han was an excellent second choice because he's an original trilogy character. He knew Kylo in person. I mean Ben in person. That honestly made sense. It's not even a bad idea. But as a personal preference, I would have loved to see Anakin's ghost because Kylo Ren wanted to know more about his grandfather, even if it was Darth Vader. And Anakin could have said, "No, don't make the same mistakes I did. This is what it truly means to be me. Don't be Vader. Be follow the light. If I've been through what you've been through, it would have been awesome. Like, in addition to Hayden Christensen fan service, even though the guy's aged by 15 years by now, you know, I'm just saying, like, it would have been awesome. Number six, the stories were not cohesive as a trilogy. Now, a character arc for Ray and Ben, even Finn and Poe would have been great. I mean, I loved Finn's character arc in the first movie. Like, I know some people think it's unrealistic how Finn was a indoctrinated stormtrooper, yet he turned to the resistance side. I didn't have a problem with that because you do get people, you know, in real life who do have strong morals and mutiny. I'm just saying, and I just think it would have been awesome if Ray actually developed a character or even had flaws. It doesn't make her a bad person or a weak person because Luke had flaws. Um, different characters had flaws anyway. They were good characters. That would have made him a better character as a character, like if not morally, if Ray had flaws, but she still was good, which she is, but she's almost perfect and flawless. Like, I'm not saying she is, but she almost is. Um, Even more of a character arc for Ben Solo or a background story would be better as well. Um, Also, personally, regarding the stories not being that cohesive as a trilogy, I think it would be better if they had some sort of aim, or even instead of almost mirroring the original trilogy, if they took inspiration off the Legends material post Return of the Jedi, like the Troy Denning books. I personally haven't read them, to be honest, but I just knew that that sort of material in general was good. I had a rough idea of Jaina Solo, um, Anakin Solo, those sort of guys, and the New Republic, in its prime, with a military, even though, I mean, look, they were in wars too, and there were no real wars during the Cold War and Star Wars in canon. That makes sense why they demilitarized themselves. But if you seriously see an emerging threat like the First Order coming, you surely remilitarize yourself. I don't even know if it's a word, but you still re-equip yourself with military, with a military force you know, instead of the resistance just taking them on themselves. Um, I know I say I'm a lot. Anyway, what I was going to say was I do like the idea though in episode 9 where all the ships come out of hyperspace and like trillions of them, and they're all civilians want to help out. I like that idea and concept, although then again, I would have preferred the New Republic had their own military. Um, no, hang on. Number 7. There were good things that came from the sequels. Now, I love the moral messages and the love stories were nice. They were appealing to kids like Rose and Finn. Um, I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion on that. I think it was okay, but I can see why it's cheesy. Um, I like the moral messages that just like build children up and, like basically saying that don't don't just like give into evil and, kill your parents. I mean, in this case, Han Solo with Kylo Ren, or don't. I mean, it's like Star Wars was empowering Rey, and she was meant to be a role model for young women or young girls. I mean, and I can see how she was a good role model. She didn't really develop much once again, but I think she was a character many young girls could relate to. Um, just saying, and Disney just wanted to put ideas in, and I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Even though I do agree that these movies should appeal to all ages, not just kids, also adults like us, older fans. I also must say the visual effects are impressive. Obviously being I mean, 2010's decade set of movies, and there was less CGI than the prequels, which I agree that's good. I think the CGI is good in the prequels as long as it was rendered well. Um, I thought the clones were good CGI. R2D2 was good in the prequels. I can see how they were overused though, and they caused, I don't know if this is opinion or fact, but there were many actors that were not, they didn't act very well in the prequels because they were talking to, a CGI representative rather than an actual actor. But we won't go into that because this is not about the prequels, this video. Um, there were also innovative concepts like force powers, like Force Freeze, when Kylo freezed um, Poe's blaster bolt in the first sequel movie. There was also, Force heal. I can see why that retcons a lot of plots and, like Anakin could have healed Padme, etc. Still thought it was a good idea in general. I think it's good to introduce new Force powers. There was, I don't even know what this is called, pardon me, but there was this Force power in the last movie where you can transfer an object from one place to another, like a lightsaber, or even like, if Ray was fighting Kylo in this place where I think Ray was in a room and then Kylo was out on that planet. I think it was Kijimi or something. Pardon me if I got that wrong. I have only seen the movie once. I don't exactly follow the sequel trilogy canon. But anyway, so Kylo was on that planet. I think he was fighting Ray. And what I'm saying is that they were their lightsabers were impacting in, separate locations. Um, and this is not logically possible. Like, you can't just have, I know this is Star Wars, the Force can do anything, I guess, but, you know, Rey and Kylo were lightsaber fighting, and there were pots smashing where Rey was, and Kylo wasn't even physically there with Rey. I just don't like that idea because it's not really possible. However, the Force teleportation of the lightsabers, that's not too bad because teleportation is theoretical in science fiction. Honestly, that's more believable. Um, I don't really think the new Force powers in general are really a problem, just saying the least. And of course, we get new movies. We've had a 15-year drought of live action Star Wars movies since 2005 to 2000, no, 10 years, I mean, to 2015. So, as a kid, I always want to see more movies, and at least we got them, and they were enjoyable despite the fact that they didn't resonate with me in the end. Let me know what you think in the comments, and please be respectful to each other and even to me. And I do appreciate you for watching this video. Have a good day or night.